What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about two linebackers coming out of this year's draft, both from the same school that the Lions could target this year. One with more upside and one that I think is more ready right now. So let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome everybody to a video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we're talking about some more draft prospects for the Detroit Lions. And today it's about the linebacker position. And I think I got two good names for you. One name was actually brought to my attention this morning. I got this DM from I can't remember who sent me this. You know who you are. He sent me this DM and he's like, hey, have you checked out this linebacker? And I was like, man, I've looked at him a little bit, but not enough. So I will check him out. And then the other linebacker, someone I have looked at before, but I see a lot of comparisons to a linebacker that was with the Saints last season. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be another Lions option as well. Both of these guys are projected to be mid-round to early day 3 picks. One's a little bit higher than the other in terms of projections. But let's talk about them. One of them is Pete Werner. The other one is Baron Browning. Both of these linebackers are from Ohio State. Oh, I'm sorry. I hate to do it. You know, as a Michigan fan, I hate to do it. But hey, you know what? You want the best players for your team in Ohio State. Puts out a lot of good players. I can't deny that. So quick note here, by the way, guys. So Jeff Okudah is switching his number to 23. I think that's really cool. So Jeff Okudah is going to be 23. Remember, Slade went from 30, struggled a little bit, went to number 23. Come on now. Okudah, you getting 7 interceptions next year? I think that's what he's trying to say, right? 7, or maybe he's saying I'm going to get 23 interceptions, number for each interception. Because if he would have picked one, then it's like, oh, one pick, that's what you got last year. He had one pick. I think he had just one, right? He had the Cardinals one. But if you get 23 pick, no, that might not be it. Either way, though, 23, that's clean. That's clean. I saw this jersey at the store. He was wearing number 30. He was like $120. I was like, you know, it's cool. It looks clean. Like, by the way, those jerseys look fresh. But for $120, and I know he's going to change his number at this time. I didn't know it was going to be 23. I don't know if it's worth it. But it might actually be more cool to have his rookie number. Would that be more valuable? Or what do you, maybe like me and thinking that he was going to take 28 because Peterson, you know, was here, so he didn't take 28. He went with 30. But what may have happened is that because Trufant was signed so early because Trufant was signed before the draft, is that he already knew 23 was taken. So he's like, oh, I'll take 28. And then we signed Peterson after we drafted Okudah. So he's like, oh, okay, you can have 28. I can't take 28 from AP. But now that Trufant's gone, he's like, hold up, that's my number. So maybe that'll make him play better. Why are we getting off topic? Let's get to the video. I don't think he has as much upside, but I think he could definitely benefit you right now. And he could help the Lions if they wanted to go this route. And this is Pete Werner. Pete Werner comes in at 6'3", 242 pounds. When you look at Pete Werner, I feel like he does a lot of things well. He actually impressed me with how many things that he actually does well. As a run defender, as a guy that can get after the quarterback, as a big hitter, even as a coverage guy. It actually impressed me how much he could actually do on the field and how many different roles that he could play for Ohio State. And it looked like he was a pretty crucial part of that linebacker group for Ohio State. Now, they mixed a lot of guys in. They moved a lot of guys around. Sometimes he would bounce outside for them as well, can kind of play all those roles. But really, Pete Werner is the type of player right now that I think that you could draft round 3, potentially round 4 if he falls there, and he could come in and serve an impact year 1. And there's not a lot of guys that can always do that you could trust that could serve an impact year 1, but I feel like he's going to be very NFL ready just when you watch the way that he plays. One of my favorite examples of Pete Werner starts in coverage where he recognized that a play earlier in the game that he got beat on a play action drag deep middle. So the very next time they hit him with it, he was very quick to react, get back, and cover the crossing route deep over the middle and take it away from the quarterback. A very smart player that seems to know what's going on. As a run defender, he's really actually a pretty big hitter. He's got solid closing speed, but he's a pretty big hitter, relatively good tackler as well, doesn't miss many tackles. He does tend to leave his feet a little bit, which I don't like, but I think a lot of times he's in the trailing position, but he will lay the boom. There's no question about that. Also, I think what you like of him as a run defender is that he has no issues taking on offensive linemen at the second level. Really doesn't. He's not going to get erased in between the tackles. And in a draft class that's very small linebacker, there's a lot of linebackers that have issues with that. Pete Werner isn't one of those guys. So because he has a really not solid build and he's a very strong linebacker, he has no issues taking on offensive linemen. Now, he's not super athletic. He doesn't really finesse his way by blockers and shed them that way. Just athletically doesn't have great sideline to sideline or closing speed. It's okay. It's just not great. As a coverage man, though, I think he is pretty good. In zone, he seems to have a pretty nice feel in zone coverage of where he needs to be at and, you know, whose responsibility he should pick up. Man-to-man coverage, you can trust him a lot better than a lot of other linebackers at 6'3", 240. Like I said, this is a small linebacker class, and when you look at linebackers that are usually 240 and up, a lot of them really struggle in coverage. Like some of them give you absolutely nothing in coverage. He doesn't. He actually can give you something in coverage. Now, is he going to give space man-to-man? Yes, he does tend to give up space in man-to-man coverage. He's not going to be extremely sticky and give, no airspace whatsoever. He will give some space in man-to-man coverage, but he's not super slow, and he does flip his hips pretty well for his size. So in man coverage, he's not a complete liability. You could ask him to do that. He's not going to be a shutdown linebacker. He's got really nice size. Similar build to Alex Anzalone at his size was 6'3", 240. So he's got good height for tight ends. Really, he just gives you a lot that can play a lot of different positions. And I think he's a very smart player that could really translate quickly to your defense. And I think he was a very crucial part that was overlooked in the Ohio State defense. I think that Pete Werner never gets lost. Sometimes he gets caught looking in the backfield. Sometimes he gets lashed onto a quarterback size and they can look him off and get him completely out of his position, and he can miss assignments. And he'll have to use his recovery speed to help out and make a play. And yes, he will get lost. But in comparison to the next guy we're going to talk about, he's way more polished in my opinion. And I'm also not here saying that he's got some dude that's stuck in the mud. I've seen linebackers that are 240 that look like they can't move. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Like, he's still athletic for his size. It's just not as athletic as the next guy we're going to talk about. So we're comparing these two. But I would say it's average to slightly above average athleticism. I mean, you could go slightly above average, I guess I would say. More polished right now than the next guy that we're going to talk about. He could play that Mike linebacker position, but also play on the outside if you wanted to. You could trust him in a lot of different roles, and I think that's what's nice about him. If the Lions want to go this route, they definitely could. Werner may be one of the more underrated linebackers in this class because it's easy to get caught up in the speed and interceptions and like 100 tackles. But at the end of the day, a guy that can play different positions, play it at a high level, not a liability at many spots, and still good athleticism for really good size for this year's draft. I mean, to me, he might be pushing top 10 linebacker in this class. Seriously. I mean, he can do a lot of different things. You're definitely two different types of players. But if you draft him, I think you're getting a strong player. And he could be good in the NFL because sometimes people just overlook the fact that you can play. I mean, he can just simply play. And you get too caught up in speed and things like that, but the guy can play at the end of the day. Also, as a pass rusher, the guy is strong, like I said, but he's very willing. No hesitation. He's going to go down and attack as a pass rusher. He'll take on some linemen and just go for it. So you love that part of his game. But he even wasn't that big of a playmaker at Ohio State. I think he's one of the more safe picks at linebacker, but the upside, I don't know how high it is. But then you look at a guy like Baron Browning. And he's a little bit different to me. Browning, to me, has more upside, but he doesn't seem as polished right now as a linebacker like Pete Werner. Baron Browning checks in at 6'4", 240. Now, Browning reminded me of somebody, and it really made me interested in watching him. And then I started to see a lot of things that I liked. Baron Browning reminded me of Demario Davis. I'm always looking at the Saints defense and trying to see, what the Saints did last season and how their defense worked, just to try to learn of what Aaron Glenn could be looking to do and build this defense for the upcoming years and really for the future. And one guy I see on that defense that's a very big part, of course, is Demario Davis. Now, we brought in Anzalone, but they had Demario Davis as one of their other linebackers. They ran a lot of 4-2-5. Demario Davis, so I wanted to see, what did he look like coming out of the draft? Now, he wasn't drafted by them. He was brought in by the Jets, acquired by the Saints later on, but drafted by the Jets in the 3rd round. He was a 6'3", 235-pound linebacker that gave you tons of athleticism, really good sideline-to-sideline type of speed, but played the outside linebacker position as well. But his athleticism didn't seem to translate as much in coverage. I see a lot of similarities for Baron Browning. At 6'4", 240, nearly very similar size, not the exact same, plays the outside linebacker position mostly for Ohio State, but did mix in at the Mike position, mixed in as an inside linebacker, and that's what Demario did. He went from outside to inside and became one of the best inside linebackers in the NFL. I could see a Baron Browning doing something similar here because when you watch Browning, he's got all the physical tools you want, all the uncoachable traits. They have nearly identical 40 times coming out of draft. His vertical was ridiculous. I think he had a 41-inch vertical, and you could just see the athlete on the field. His closing speed is there, his sideline-to-sideline speed, and I mean, this guy can cover man-to-man better than a lot of linebackers in his class, and he's a big dude. But where does he lack right now? To me, he lacks as he's kind of slow to react to things. Very slow to react to things, especially in zone coverage. He's kind of behind, and he's not able to really get himself in position early, which to me is going to take developing. Also, as a run defender, he tends to get out of place. Definitely bites down way too often on play action. Overruns plays as a run defender. Needs a lot of things cleaned up. Needs good coaching. Mark Delone is now here. Mark Delone may be able to get that out of him, especially if he switches to an inside linebacker position, which is where we hired our coach. And I'm looking at the Lions, I'm saying, okay, Jamie Collins fills that Demario Davis type of role right now, but what happens when Jamie is gone? I mean, he's not going to be here forever. Browning might be that next man up. And if he doesn't become an inside linebacker, he can play the outside linebacker as well because he can drop into flats, no issue. He can cover a running back, no problem whatsoever. He's super fast, and you'll see some clips of it. But he also can beat tackles kind of more with speed right now. I mean, sometimes he doesn't always play to the strengths that you would hope, but he does beat tackles with speed right now. Set the edge. He tries to be disciplined there, but sometimes he just gets a little antsy and he gets out of position. But I think for the most part, just athletically, he's just so gifted, and there's just so many things that he brings to the table that you say, man, I just can't coach this. And there's also flashes of really good plays, smart plays, man coverage. Sometimes he drops in zone well and he makes big plays out there. He's a monster hitter. You don't want this guy to hit you. He could knock you out. Seriously. Great size. Good speed, so many similarities to Mario Davis coming out of the draft, and they were predicting Demario to be a 3rd round and 5th round pick. He ended up being a 3rd round pick. I could see Browning be somewhere around a 3rd round pick. For the Lions, while he may not give you as much this year as you would hope, and he could come out the gate slow, and that may not make fans super happy, when you're talking about where are we in 2022, Browning might be kind of a really good option for you. And I think down the road, he could be really strong. Do I think he can give an impact this year? Yes, but you're going to see issues in the game. He's not extremely polished. All rookies do. But he's not extremely polished, yet he brings that athletic side of the game that you just can't teach with tremendous size. Not many linebackers have the size that he does, but also keeping the athleticism. A lot of athletic linebackers, not many that big. And the Lions, that's a pretty much average size for what they've been looking for at linebacker. He could play the edge role if you need him to, or he could be an inside linebacker, played at all the different spots. But man, this guy can cover. And a lot of times they put him outside linebacker because he could take on wide receiver screens. He could take on those blockers. But he's agile as well. He to look a little slow, right now in terms of reads, things like that. But has improved year by year as a big hitter. He's going to need some work, but he's got versatility and he just has things you can't coach. That could be a very legitimate mid-round to potentially early day 3 if somehow he fell pick for the Lions. And some people are saying that he could be a really good fit for the Lions. And I could kind of see that. So let me know your thoughts, comments below. How do you feel about those 2 linebackers? Thank you, Prep, for watching. I'm out.